Hello students. Today we'll begin with the fourth chapter of your Vistas book, The Enemy, which is written by Pearl S. Buck. Today we'll have the explanation of this chapter from page number 24 to page number 28, and we'll call it as part 1. And this particular chapter is too lengthy and we'll have it in 6 different parts. So today we are dealing with part number 1, and this is from page number 24 to page number 28. And before we move into this chapter, as the name of the chapter says, the enemy, it tells about something which is related to the enemy. And when we'll be reading this particular chapter, we'll come to know that there was a doctor, and the doctor had to cure a person. He had to deal with a person who was of the enemy's country. And in this way, we come to know in very short that this is the real meaning which we derive from this particular chapter's name. This particular chapter is written, the background, the whole plot is written on the grounds of Japan. Now, my dear students, the whole story is written by Pearl S. Buck. Now, before we move into the explanation of this chapter, I want to tell something about Pearl S. Buck in very short. The full name of Pearl S. Buck is Pearl Siren Stryker Buck, and she was born in 26th of June 1892 in Hillsborough, West Virginia, USA. She died on 6th of March 1973 in Danby, Vermont, USA at the age of 80. Now, my dear students, she is also known by her Chinese name Cai Zhenzu. She was an American writer and novelist, and as she was the daughter of missionaries, Buck also spent most of her life before 1934 in Zhenjiang, which is in China. And she was awarded with the Pulitzer Award in 1932, and in 1938 she was also awarded the Nobel Prize too. Now let's move to this particular chapter and have the explanation of it, and let's read it. Dr. Sadao Hoki's house was built on the spot of Japanese coast where a little boy he had often played. Now we come to know that the doctor who actually did this work of curing an enemy, the name of the doctor was Dr. Sadao Hoki. That was his complete name. Now, his house was built on the Japanese coast, where during his life, in his childhood, he actually played over there on the seashore. And the low square stone house, he had a low square stone house, and that was set upon the rocks, and it was above a narrow beach. It was near a narrow beach. There was a narrow beach right in front of the house, and that was outlined, that was covered with bent pines. When we say bent pine, means pine trees over there. Bent pine means there were a lot of trees that were in bent shape. Now, as a boy, Sadao had climbed up these pine trees, supporting himself on the bare feet. He had done in his childhood, supporting himself on his bare feet, as he had seen men do in the South Seas also, where people had climbed these trees for coconuts even. Now, his father had taken him often to the islands nearby the Japan and of those seas, and never had he failed to say to the little brave boy at his side. Sadao's father told him, "My dear son, those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones to the future for Japan." When we say yonder, yonder means at some close distance. And when we say this, in the direction in which Sadao's father was pointing actually. So, and when Sadao's father was pointing towards it, it means that at that particular time, Japan was at war with different countries and with America also. And we come to know this, and it's given ahead. These are the stepping stones for the future of Japan. It means over here that in this way we come to know that the future of Japan depends on and how they actually expand themselves, their territory, they expand themselves and move ahead in the different parts of the world, and expanding by conquering different parts of different countries. Now let's move ahead. Where shall we step from them? Sadao had asked seriously from his father. He asked from his father. Sadao asked from his father. Then from there, from those islands, where would we be stepping on? What would be the places, different places would be? And the father had replies, who knows? Who knows where we would be doing all this? And who can limit our future? Who can? Who can stop us? Who can stop us actually? We are so mighty and we are so lovely. Who can stop us? It depends on what we make it. But the father added one more important thing is what we make it. And when we say it, what we make it, it means it depends upon how we develop our present time, and that will maintain the future. That will actually make sure how the future will be of Japan, of ours. Now coming to page number 25, Sadao had taken this into his mind. He remembered what his father had said. As he did everything his father said, he was a very wonderful son, and whatever was told by his father, he did it as it is. And his father, who never joked or played with him, he was a lovely father. Sadao's father was a very lovely father, but he did not play with him. Neither did he joked with him, but who spent infinite pains upon him actually, who spent endless pains on him actually, who was his only son. And he did all what he could do for his best of the future. And Sadao knew that his education was his father's chief concern, was his father's main concern. And for this reason, he had been sent at the age of 22, to America to learn all that he could learn of surgery and medicine. In short, he was sent to America at the age of 22 over there to learn MBBS. In short, MBBS. He had come back at the age of 30, and when he turned of age 30, he returned back, and before his father died, he had seen Sadao become famous not only as a surgeon but as a scientist too. Now, when Sadao returned back to Japan at the age of 30, he had completely, he was now an MBBS doctor, and he was just not a doctor, but he had become a scientist too, because he was doing discoveries also. And because he was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean. Render means provide. My dear students, he was also working on a medicine actually that would actually clean the wound, that would help the wounds to get entirely clean. Now, he had not been sent abroad with the troops, with the army troops abroad. Also, he knew that there was some slight danger that the old general might need an operation for a condition. One of the main reasons of Sadao being not sent abroad with the army troops was that just because he was a lovely doctor, he was one of the best doctors in Japan. And the general basically believed on him that no one else can actually save him of the kind of problem that general was actually facing. And when we'll be moving ahead in the chapter, we'll come to know this, that this particular general was facing a lot of problems, a lot of physical problems. Now let's move ahead, and for this one of this possibility, Sadao was being kept in Japan. Now at this particular moment, clouds were rising from the ocean. Now the unexpected warmth of the past few days had actually at night drawn heavy fog, dense fog, near the area where the house of Sadao was. And from the cold waves, and Sadao was the mist hide outlines of a little island near the shore. Mist is actually a condensed form of vapor which actually blurs the vision. And it is due to this fog, it is due to this mist. Because of that, the nearby island, which could be seen in the sea directly and visible from the eyes easily from Sadao's house, was now covered with mist. It was now covered with a kind of a fog, and now it could not be seen simply because there was mist and fog over there. Now mist hide outlines of little island near the shore, and then come creeping up, and now then this heavy fog came nearer and nearer the house of Sadao. It came creeping inside, close to the house and the beach below the house, and wreathing up around the pines, and then covering up. Wreathing means covering up the pine trees, and a few minutes fog could be wrapped around the house also, and the house and the nearby area of Sadao's house was easily covered with the dense fog. Then he would go into the room where Hannah, his wife, would be waiting for him with the two children, and then he went to meet them. But at this moment, the door actually moment when he was about to leave to meet them, the wife opened the door, and the wife's name was Hannah. We come to know here over here that the name of the wife of Sadao was Hannah, and she looked out, and a dark blue woolen howrey was she was wearing a woolen howrey. Now, my dear students, howrey is a kind of a overcoat, and she was wearing a dark blue woolen howrey over her kimono. A kimono is a coat, and you can say a howrey is a kind of a overcoat. Japanese overcoat is howrey. Japanese coat is kimono, which is generally worn by women. Now she came to him affectionately and put her arm through his, and as he stood, smiled and said nothing. And they were husband and wife, and this is some lovely romantic moment, and they spent time together. And he had met Hannah in the and he was thinking of this stuff when he had actually met Hannah, but he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure that she was actually Japanese. He wanted to marry, he wanted to fall in love with the lady which should actually be Japanese only. Now, was the reason behind being a Japanese person falling into love behind being a Japanese person? His father would never actually have received her unless she had been pure in her race. Actually, she would have been pure in her ethnic group. Unless she would have been pure in the race of Japanese, she should have been in the race of Japanese. So the father-in-law or the father of Sadao actually wanted that the daughter-in-law of Sadao's father should be actually Japanese and pure in race. Then moving ahead, and he wondered often whom he would have married if he hadn't not met Hannah, and by what luck he had actually found her in the most the most casual way, in a very simple way, and very in a very casual way, by chance, literally exactly at the American professor's house. The professor and his wife had been kind people when he was studying in America over there. So the professor and his wife was very lovely over there, and they used to treat their students very lovely, and they helped them a lot. And they were always very kind people, anxious to do something. They were a lot concerned and eager and desirous to do something for the foreign students. And in doing so, and the students, though bored, had accepted this kindness, although although the students did not like it, but still, they whatever they gave, they used to accept that. Though bored, they had accepted the kindness, and the Sadao had often told Hannah how nearly he had not gone to Professor Harley's house that night, because there was a time when he was actually thinking he shouldn't be going over there. It's not that they are too lovely. It's not that the food is too lovely, and this is one of the reasons perhaps he wasn't wanting to go over there. But casually he went over there, and there he found Hannah over there in the house of Professor Harley. So that's how the husband and wife, before marriage, they first met each other. Now, let's move here. Sadao had often told Hannah how nearly had he not gone to Professor Harley's house that night. The rooms were so small. The food was so bad. So actually the rooms were over there where the party was arranged. It was actually small, and the food which was actually served to them was not good. Why not good? Simply because they were Japanese. Sadao was a Japanese person, and Hannah was Japanese, and many others would be from the different nationalities, and certainly whatever the food would have been made would be not of their quality and the type they would be wanting actually. So the food so bad, and the professor's wife was voluble. Voluble means this tells that the professor's Harley's wife was too talkative. Voluble means talkative. So the professor's wife, Harley's wife, was talkative, but he had gone there, and there he had found Hannah over there, a new student over there, and had felt that if he would love her, if it were at all possible. If it's actually possible, it would be a lot lovely, and it would be good. Now he felt her hand on his arm and was aware of the pleasure it gave him. This is the thing, first of all, they were thinking about, and now it's coming to the truth. What the scene over here is right now when the whole mist and dense fog has covered the nearby area, the sea. From the sea, the mist has covered the pine areas and the nearby shore and the house of Sadao. So these people are inside now, and this is the time when he felt her hand, the wife's hand, Hannah's hand, on his arm, and was aware of the pleasure it actually gave him. So this shows the intensity of the love between the husband Sadao and the wife Hannah. We come to know this. Now, even though they had been married years enough to have two children, although these two people had, this couple had two children also, for they had not married heedlessly in America. It's not that they had just married thoughtlessly, they were too eager, too hastily in America. They waited for that time, and they had finished their work at school, and they had come back home to Japan. And when his father had seen her, that the marriage had been arranged in the old Japanese way, although Sada and Hannah had talked everything beforehand. So we come to know that they actually first their studies, both of them finished their studies over there, and then they returned back to Japan, and then they both got married. Now, although Sada and Hannah had talked everything beforehand, they had talked already about each and everything earlier before going and meeting Sadao's father. So everything was, they knew how it would all be. So it was already had been done, and they were now when they were married, they were perfectly happy. And she laid her cheek against his arm. So this is a lovely romantic moment which we see over here. Now it was at this moment that both of them saw something black coming out of the mist over there. They saw something was outside. They could see on the shore from the mist. The mist was now moving away, and so there could be seen some person perhaps coming out from those mists. So it was a man. He was flung out of the sea. He was thrown out of the sea. It means it perhaps this man had been thrown out of the sea, thrown out of the ocean, flung. It seemed to his feet by a breaker, and by his feet he wanted to stand up. He wanted to get up. He staggered a few steps. So with not firm steps, he wanted to stand, but he walked limpingly, and his body outlined against the mist in his arms above his head. And as he tried to get up and move ahead, then the cold mist hit him again, and then there was a mist cover again. There was a fog cover again over there, and then everything was covered. Now, who is that? Hannah cried. She just cried, she just shouted, "Who is that person?" And she dropped Sadao's arm, and then they both leaned over the railing of the veranda, and they wanted to see who the person is. And now they saw him again. The man was on his hands and knees, and moving on the hands and knees, it means actually, and the person was crawling. So the person was sure that he had come out of the sea, and he has come from it. And then they saw that this man actually fall on his face and lie over there. Perhaps he was hurt a lot, or perhaps because of the fatigue. So and that is why he fall on his face over there, lie over there. And a fisherman perhaps, Sadao said, wash. A fisherman perhaps, Sadao said maybe this person might have been a fisherman. Washed from his boat, and he ran quickly down the steps, and behind him Hannah came. So the first person to leave the house running towards this particular person was Dr. Sadao, simply because he had the heart of serving people, saving people. Because he was a doctor, he wanted to save the life of this person. So we come to know, and that is why he just ran towards him. And behind Sadao, we see that Hannah also ran behind Sada, because she was a lovely, faithful wife, and she also went behind him. Her wide sleeves flying, and we come to know that she also went over there just running. A mile or two away, on the other side, there were fishing villages over there. Nearby the house of the Hannah, on both the sides, there were actually fishing villages. But here was only the bare and lonely coast. It was a clean coast over there. There was no person over there. It was a clean coast, dangerous with rocks. It was all covered with rocks. The whole coast was covered with rocks and pine trees over there. Spiked with rocks means covered with rocks. Spiked means they were something really very spiky and covered with, and which we come to know by this there were a lot of rocks over there. And then somehow the man had managed to come through. He had managed to come through these rocks, and he got somehow saved. Somehow the man had managed to come through them, and he must have been badly torn. Badly torn means he must have been badly tired. Then they saw that when they came towards him, that indeed it was so. So when they saw, yes, that there is a particular man over there, and the sand was on one side of this particular person, and he had a stain of red soaking through, and the whole that particular sand had a red soaking, which means blood was oozing out from the body of this particular person who came out from the sea. So it means that this man is just not he is not only dead, but he is also hurt also. It means. Now he is wounded, Sadao exclaimed, Sadao declared over there, and he made haste to the man who lay motionless. Now Sadao declared that this man is particularly wounded, and he made haste. Haste means he rushed to the man who lay motionless over there. His face in the sand is this person's face who had come out of the sea. His face was in the sand. His face was buried in the sand. Now, an old cap stuck to his head, soaked with sea water. He had a cap on his head. This man who had come out of the sea, had cap on his head, and it was all soaked with sea water. He was in wet rag of garments. Yes, he was wearing garments, but yes, it was all very dirty kind of clothes. And Sadao stopped over there, and Hannah stopped beside him and turned to the man's head, and they saw the face. Then they saw the face, and then Hannah whispered, and then Hannah said to her husband, "A white man. This person seems a white man." Yes, it was a white man. The wet cap fell away, and that the wet cap that was over the head of this particular person actually fell away, and there was his white yellow hair, long as though for many weeks it had not been cut. It seemed as if the hair of this particular person was not being cut for a very long period of time, and he had a yellow hair, or you can say goldenish kind of hair, or a blonde hair, you can say, as though for many weeks it had not been cut. But upon his young and tormented face, tortured face means tormented face, or persecuted face, was a rough yellow beard also. So on his face, this particular person also had the beard also, and that was again a blonde beard, a goldenish beard. Now he was unconscious over there. This man who had come out of the sea was unconscious. He was insensible and knew nothing that they did for him, that the husband Sadao and the wife Hannah did for him. Now Sadao remembered that the wound with his expert finger, just because he was a doctor. So again, by his natural extent, he started working on this particular wounded person, and we come to know that Sadao remembered this wound, and with his expert fingers he tried searching for the problem, and the blood flowed freshly out at the touch of the wound. As he touched the wound, so the blood started oozing out of the body. On the right hand side of the lower back of the person, Sadao saw that there was a gun wound had been reopened. It means this person had been shot earlier, and he had tried to run away. It means that perhaps this was a prisoner, perhaps. We come to know by this. And the flesh was blackened with a powder, by the gunpowder. Powder means by over here is gunpowder. Sometimes, not many days ago, the man had been shot and had not been tended, had not been nursed or cared, and it was a bad chance that the rock had struck the wound also. And yes, he hadn't been able to actually nurse his own these wounds, and when he came actually from the sea to the coastal area where there were so many of the rocks, so he actually the wounds of this man actually hit with the different rocks over there on the coast, and this is how the wounds got open and how he is bleeding. Hannah whispered again. Again, the wife Hannah said, and this man is bleeding. In a solemn voice, in a sad voice, she said, Hannah said in a sad voice, this man is bleeding, and the mist screened him again. Screen means hid him. So the mist, the fog hid him again completely, and at this time of the day, no one came by. There was no person nearby on the coast, and the fishermen had gone home, and even the chance beachcombers would have considered the day at end. Beachcombers means the vandrous people who actually go at the beach at the evening time. So those were wanderers or the tramps. So they would have considered the day at end, and hence there were no people over there on the beach. It was a completely lonely coast over there, and there was only one person that was lying ahead in front of Hannah and Dr. Sadao. Now, my dear students, let's move ahead. What shall we do with this man? Sadao muttered. Sadao mumbled over here. And what shall we do with this person? And but by his trained hands, as he was a doctor, seemed of their own will to be doing what they could be to stop this fearful bleeding. He wanted to stop this bleeding over here, and he packed the wound with the sea moss, and he sewed the beach. That actually what could be done at that particular point of moment, from how he could have stopped the bleeding just because he was a doctor and he wanted to save the life of this man. So the very first thing he could do is to stop the bleeding of the person, the bleeding of the wounds actually. So that could only be done by packing it with something. So nothing was available nearby apart from the sea moss. So they took the sea moss. Sadao took the sea moss from the sea, and he packed the wound with it only. So that suited the beach over there, and the man moaned with the pain and with the pain in his stupor, but he did not awaken. So the man groaned actually in pain. He cried in pain, but in stupor, in unconsciousness actually, this man actually did not get awakened. Now the best thing that we could do would be to put him again back in the sea. Now what the husband said, answering to himself, not even to his wife, he said to himself that the best thing we could do is to put this man back again into the sea. But it was something like it's not possible for him, simply because he was a doctor and his work was to save the life of a person and not to take the life of a person. And hence he was talking all those things, but yet his hands didn't move to do this work. So now that the bleeding was stopped for the moment, stood up and dusted the sand from his hands, and then he actually stood up. Sadao actually stood up, and he actually just dusted the sand from his hands. And yes, undoubtedly that would be the best, Hannah said. Yes, and steadily, and she said unwaveringly, and she said firmly, but she continued to stare down at the motionless man. But she was just watching this man who was lying over there. Hannah was watching this man who was lying over there on the beach from over there, and this man was lying over there as a motionless person. This means perhaps this man is either dead or either is not in an insensible condition, and hence something is required for this person to do. Now, if we shelter a white man in our house, we should be arrested. As this person is a white man, as an American, there is a chance that these people could be arrested if they help a kind of a prisoner of war. Just because if this person is actually an American, so it's obvious that. And it is in the territory, if this person is, the body is found in the territory of Japan, it means this is certainly from the army. It is from the army, of the US, of the United States of America. And if we turned him over as a prisoner, he would certainly die. As a doctor, he knew that, yes, this man is badly hit and he is badly injured. And if this man is not... if they hand him over to the authorities, proper authorities, and they get this man arrested and they would turn him as a prisoner of war, certainly this man would certainly die. The kindest thing would be to put him back into the sea. Hannah said that it's better than we put him back again in the sea. But neither of them moved. They were staring with a curious repulsion upon the inert figure, with a curious dislike, with a disgust, and they were looking at this motionless person. Now, what is he? Hannah whispered. Who is this man actually, of which we are so much worried of? This man is actually an American. Why should we much be so worried of? There is something there about this man that looks American, Sadav said, and he looked at the battered cap, that worn out cap that this man had actually worn over there. And yes, there was almost gone, there was a faint lettering over there, and it looked as if the cap told that this man was perhaps a sailor over there, and he said from an American warship, and he spelled it out as U.S. Navy. So the U.S. Navy was written on the cap of this sailor. The man was a prisoner of war, it means. According to him, now it was clear that this man was of the Navy, of the U.S. Navy, and he had been hit, and he was a prisoner of war. This person wanted to run away from the clutches of the Japanese, and that is why he ran away. He was a prisoner of war, and he ran away from over there, and he just ran away from over there. And he has escaped. Hannah cried softly, and that is why he is wounded. And Hannah cried, yes, this man has escaped, and this is one of the reasons this man is wounded. And in the back, Sadav said, yes, he is in the back, and they hesitated, looking at each other. And then Hannah said with a resolution, with a firm decision, come, are we able to put him back into the sea? Now, alone, Hannah was not able to think and do actually such kind of act, that just simply because she was a lady, she was a kind-hearted lady, and that is why she asked her husband, why is it possible that we are able to put this man again back into the sea? So Sadav asked, if I am able, do you think I am able, are you able to put this man again back into the sea? And no, Hannah said, no, I am not able to put him back in the sea, but if you can do it alone. Sadav said, no, Sadav was dependent on, seems dependent on his wife. If the wife alone can throw this person again back into the sea, can it be done? Now Sadav hesitated again. The strange thing is, he said that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. If this man wouldn't have been hurt so badly, I would have certainly handed him over to the police, to the proper authorities. That would have been lovely, and there would have been no problem without any difficulty. I care nothing for this man simply because he's an American, and I care nothing for him. He is my enemy, and all Americans are my enemy. So this is what Sadav says, that Americans were his enemies too, simply because they were enemies of the Japan and the Japanese, and that is why, according to Sadav also, this man is also his enemy, but simply because this man was his doctor. This man was a doctor. Sadav was a doctor, and hence did not wanted to actually throw him into the sea. And he is only a common fellow. You see how foolish his face is. This man looks foolish, but since he is wounded, simply because this man is wounded, you also can't throw him back into the sea. Hannah said, then there is only one thing we think to do. We must carry him to the house. Now they both come to a conclusion, and Hannah said, yes, we cannot put him back into the sea. It's not good. We are not able to do so. Yes, we cannot hand him over to the police, simply because if we hand him over to the police, this person will certainly die, and it's better that we take him home, and we must carry him home into our house. So Sadav inquired over here. Sadav asked over here, but what about the servants? What will the servants say in such a situation? Now with this, my dear students, we have come to the end of the part 1, and from the next page 29, we'll move in, we'll begin with part number 2. Thank you.